Welcome to PowerTalk. I'm your host, Tom Power. Before we get started, I'd like you to smash that like button, subscribe, and click on the notification bell if you would like to see more content from PowerTalk. My guest today is Most Worshipful Grand Master, Ancient Free and Accepted Masons, Grand Lodge of Newfoundland and Labrador, Most Worshipful Brother Don Vokey. Welcome, Grand Master.
Thank you, Tom. It's a pleasure to be here.
You joined St. John's Lodge number 1 in 1989. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir. As a matter of fact, when I knew you were going to ask me that question, I started thinking about the fact that I wish I had joined much earlier because I was living in a community where there was no Masonic lodge. And even though I knew what Freemasonry was sort of all about, I didn't have the opportunity to join until then. But my Masonic journey began, yes, in 1989.
Okay, perfect. Since that time, in what changes have you seen through the years in Freemasonry, and in particular, the Grand Lodge of Newfoundland and Labrador?
It's a pretty broad question in many respects, Tom. There have been a lot of changes in Freemasonry worldwide, and many of the same changes have affected us here in the province. When I first joined Freemasonry in St. John's, it was after a period of time where I lived in a rural community, and I was involved with a service organization, a service club, and I was involved at every level of that particular organization for 14 years. When I moved into St. John's, I knew that there were a group of men who were meeting on a monthly basis and doing all kinds of interesting things. And my brother was one of them. He sponsored me into Freemasonry at the time, and I've never looked back since. It took me 10 years before I actually became master of my particular lodge. And it took that long because there were so many of us. As a matter of fact, our jurisdiction of the Grand Lodge of Newfoundland Labrador, at that particular time, we were a district Grand Lodge under the Grand Lodge of England. And our numbers were significantly higher than they are today. We had over 3,000 members in our district Grand Lodge at that time. And today we only have a little more than a third of that number. So that is perhaps the most significant change that I have seen. Our numbers have dwindled considerably. And I try to take some comfort in the fact that we're not the only organization that is affected in that regard. I mean, if we look at other service organizations, churches, everybody is suffering the effects of whatever is going on in the world that has taken people away from structured organizations such as ours. One of the biggest drawbacks that I find in with getting people out to meetings and getting involved in what we do as Freemasons is communication and education, of course. It's difficult to, when you have a young man who has a young family and given, society the way it is these days, there are so many demands on people's time. And it's easy to understand why, for instance, a young man with a family of 2 or 3 children, and he's relatively young. He has so much on his plate that it's difficult to justify sometimes that he has to go to his lodge meeting tonight at 7 o'clock. So he's got to rush dinner with the family and get out the door and gone for 2 or 3 hours and back again. And he misses that time with family and that sort of thing. But anyway, that's one of the drawbacks that we have that I have seen, and most people, I'm sure, will agree with. Time is one.
Yeah, yeah. Um, for those that don't know, and in language that the general public would understand, what is Freemasonry and what are Freemasons in Newfoundland and Labrador doing in the community that most people don't realize because of the perceived image of Freemasons?
Well, in the shortest answer that I can think of about Freemasonry is the oldest fraternity in the world. It's also the largest fraternal organization in the world. And we as Masons all share a common goal of helping each other. And that's a global goal that we all have. And not only do we help each other, but we strive to become better men. And we have a system of ethics that's based on the belief that every man has a responsibility to improve himself, while, of course, being devoted to his family, his faith, his country, and his fraternity. Now, the roots for Freemasonry worldwide go back centuries. Um, we had, our profile. The profile of many of our members we were leaders, there were physicians, construction workers, farmers, doctors, you name it. People from all walks of life were Freemasons. I should mention that all Freemasons worldwide are united by three ancient and fundamental principles that we abide by. They are brotherly love, relief and truth, or charity and truth. And these are made relevant to the up to the present time through the personal development and the good work, social connections, and everything else that our members have been doing worldwide ever since our inception.
Okay. The public's perception of Freemasonry has not always been positive. And I guess that's due to the depiction in different media and also due to conspiracy theories that have been circling around the internet for years, particularly on YouTube in recent years. What do you think we can do, if anything, to change people's perception of Freemasonry and to let people see that we are not what we are depicted in the media?
There is one word that comes to mind, it's education. And I always struggled because my background was in education. My personal life, I was involved with education for well over 30 years. And I struggle sometimes to answer that question. How do you teach the uninformed? How do you educate the uninformed? And I have read books. I've read many, many books on Freemasonry, all factual, of course. I'm not a big fan of fiction, except sometimes just for a bit of fun, a bit of leisure. And there are some authors out there who write some pretty neat books. But there are some books out there that proclaim themselves to be factual, but they're not actually, because they're not based really on fact. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of, you mentioned conspiracy theories and all that sort of thing. And I think you'll probably find that in many other circles besides Freemasonry as well. But the only way to, I think, to educate people as to what Freemasons do is to lift that shroud of mystery, if indeed it is a shroud of mystery that exists out there. Because there, quite often I hear people being asked about Freemasonry. I mean, Masons being asked about Freemasonry, and some of them they often struggle with describing to the person who's asking the question, well, what can I tell them? And am I allowed to say certain things? Do I have to keep certain things secret? And I keep reminding people we're not a secret organization. We're not a secret society. We are an organization that amongst our own selves, we have secrets among us, but it's not a secret society. We don't we don't get behind closed doors and come up with things that we want to do that nobody else in the world is going to know. It's not that sort of thing at all. It's just that our fraternity is based in tradition, and some of it we keep amongst ourselves. It's just things that just belong to us, that we talk about certain words and phrases that we sometimes use. It's not code either. Some people think that we speak in codes, but it's nothing like that at all. But I believe that what we have to do is to become more open in public circles. We have to, again, I'll go back to that phrase I just used, to lift the shroud of mystery. And I think a public relations campaign is probably the best way to do that. And some lodges are doing it. Some jurisdictions outside, not only within Newfoundland and Labrador, but outside our jurisdiction, are doing things to become more, have more exposure in the community.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Like I've struggled with that myself. People asking about Freemasons, and I'm like, well, what can I tell them? So I understand where you're coming from there, and what you're saying. Um, the attendance and membership of Masonic lodges across the island have dwindled in recent years. Is there anything that we can do to entice people to join or bring back our existing members who've not come back to lodge since maybe the COVID pandemic?
Yes, as Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Newfoundland, I've attended a lot of meetings of jurisdictions outside our jurisdiction, and I've attended meetings of our lodges throughout our jurisdiction, and I'm seeing a lot of the same things everywhere. Every jurisdiction in this country is struggling with the same issue, dwindling membership, particularly since COVID. And for whatever reasons, people, not everybody, has come out of whatever it was that COVID did to us. I think COVID made us afraid. It made us somewhat, I hesitate to say antisocial, but a little bit weary of being in public in large groups and this sort of thing. And especially, I think, more senior members, older, of our society, in all walks of life. I still see people wearing masks, and there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people have, there are valid reasons, for wearing masks, but going out into the larger environment around us, and is still somewhat a little bit scary for some people. But I think that what we have to do is engage everybody, not just our own members. I think we have to engage the public too. And a lot of lodges are doing a lot of great things. I just heard very recently of a lodge within our jurisdiction that this past summer had an open house sort of an event where they opened the lodge building to the public, but they had a variety of activities and things to entice people. They had games, almost like a festival of sorts. And being a small rural community, they were very successful in attracting a lot of people that day. But what was surprising to me, some of the members told me that during the day, there were quite a few people who came up to them and just wondered what this place was. They knew the building was there, but they didn't know what the building was or what it was used for. So that sparked a lot of conversations. And long and short of it was that particular day for that particular lodge, within 2 weeks, there were 3 applications submitted for membership. The people wanted to learn more about what Freemasonry was all about. And so it was good for both, but it was also great for the community because it got them engaged in knowing more about Freemasonry, and it got the members of the lodge engaged more so in their community as well.
What initiatives are you initiating or putting in place to make Freemasonry more visible to the public and to bring us out of the shadows, so to speak, so that people know what we do in the community to help?
Well, it's interesting you should mention that. We just completed our annual communication of all the Freemasons in Newfoundland Labrador. It was held in Gander. Very successful communication or conference for the uneducated. It was there that, as part of my address, that I talked about this very issue about low attendance, about a word in particular that I don't like using. It's called apathy, because I think that a lot of people have become apathetic about not only our organization, but other organizations that they belong to. And I think we're missing a lot of things by not attending our lodges and by not attending the other organizations and helping out the general public. And the public itself I think, is missing out on a lot of things because of it. But I've begun what I'm calling, for the want of a better phrase right now, I've begun the formation of a public relations effort or campaign. I don't like the word campaign either, because it has political connotations to it, but it's in the very early developmental stages, and it's not something that I am going to do alone, because I can't. As a Grand Master, I cannot do it. No one individual can do it. The lodges themselves, the brethren, the members of the fraternity have to do this. They have to be part of this program that I'm hoping that will start very soon, at a number of meetings that we have planned in the near future, to formulate a plan whereby we will get people involved in the community, get the community involved with us as a fraternity, to expose what it is that we're all about. What is it that we do? Where did we come from? How did Freemasonry start? I mean, it's centuries old. There's a lot of history there. There's a lot of tradition there. And then we do so much good. I mean, there are lodges in our fraternity that do some fantastic things in the community. We donate money. We help people. I could go on and on and on, but for the most part, it's unseen. We post it on our own lodge website, so we may post it on the Grand Lodge web page, but there's not very much, capital P publicity about what we do. I just had a phone call prior to starting this interview from another organization whereby we will be making a presentation, and normally it's done behind closed doors at our facility in Mount Pearl and Freemasons Hall, and a couple of us get all dressed up in our tuxedos and look pretty and that sort of thing, and we have a picture taken, and that's it. But now I'm asked that perhaps in a very short time frame, within the next week or so, to go to a public facility where we would make the presentation in front of, I don't know how many people, perhaps dozens or hundreds of people, and it's for a wonderful a cause. I don't want to say what it is at this point in time, but because hopefully it'll be seen by the general public in a very short period of time.
Okay. Well, Grandmaster, thank you for coming on the show today. And as always, it's been a pleasure to talk to you and to discuss Freemasonry in Newfoundland and Labrador.
Well, you're very welcome. I always enjoy any opportunity that I can to talk to people about our fraternity and to help spread the good word. We're doing lots of good things, and we like to do more. So, any other time that you'd like to have me back on your program, I welcome the opportunity. And there are others within our fraternity who would perhaps like to have some exposure in this regard too, and to spread the news about our fraternity that we care and love so much about.
Well, thank you. And thank you all for watching. And again, hit that subscribe button, like, and hit the notification bell to get more content from PowerTalk. Have a great day and be happy.